What is going on, everybody? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Bobby Fi, I almost said Eric Sheets Tabor. Bobby Fi, Brandon Cruz, and Jake Rohde. We're going to be talking through this showdown slate. Obviously, it's the last game of the season. Kind of sad, kind of exciting. I actually have like very little skin in this game myself. Like I'm not like that interested in these two teams. They're probably the two teams I wouldn't have wanted to see, but have some rooting interest and stuff like that. Talk to you first, Rohde, and what do you think about this? How are you doing? What's going on? What are your thoughts on Super Bowl Sunday? Who's winning this game? What's happening?
Yeah, they got the three-peat going for the Chiefs, but I do kind of like the Eagles. If I did have to bet something, I don't mind the Eagles. I like the Eagles. Some of the Eagles bets today. I think today with DFS, there's a lot of options, so kind of a fun Super Bowl slate for a single game. There's just a lot of receivers on the Chiefs side. There's a lot of different options. I think some stronger options than others, but I just kind of locking down your strategies, what you're going to want to go, which path you want to kind of take to build your showdown lineups, to get different and kind of build differently with how you build your lineup today. So we'll talk about all that, but it's
Yeah,
kind of how I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go as well.
yep. And I've said it before, and I'll say like I've been telling everybody. I think that if you're gonna bet like today on the game, though, I don't think you bet the Eagles to win a close game. I think you bet the Eagles to win by a lot, or you bet the Chiefs to win by a little. That's the sort of way I'm looking at it. I could see. I mean, there's so much talent on that Eagles side. But I also think that there's such a mismatch as far as coaching and
Coaching, yeah, exactly.
I
It's a
think
big
it's a
mismatch. Yeah.
mismatch in that thing, and I hope the Eagles win, even though I'm thinking KC most likely wins. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just, as I said before, I just ended up getting everything in for NBA and NHL. But for the Super Bowl today, I think you could look at this in two ways. One, this is a great Super Bowl to have a low amount of duplicates with the amount of variance that at least the Chiefs have, but all the players
Yeah,
have in this. Or you can look at it in a bad way because it's really difficult to make like one lineup and have like obvious plays like to fit in your lineup. Like today is absolutely an MMA slate if I've ever seen it.
yep, absolutely, totally agree. The thing that's weird is that I was saying it before in pre-show that there's some projections that I just think are just complete and utter insanity. The craziest one, and it's across the industry. It's not just SaberSim or any one site. It's like, why is Kenneth Gainwell projected to have 2 fantasy points? I do not understand this for the life of me. We have not seen that all season long. I don't know why all of a sudden we're going to change it. I do understand it's a Super Bowl. Maybe more third downs Barkley actually is on the field for, but I think it's a ridiculous projection. So that's one thing I'm going to change right off the bat when we'll get into all the other stuff. But I really think it's nuts to me. All right, so let's talk about it. As far as captain goes, and it's always tough for me with the showdowns, and this is obviously a massive showdown slate. As far as captain goes, I guess, I'll start with you, Rhodey. What are you looking at? And then we'll get into Brandon's. What are you looking at as far as like who you'd be playing the most? I still haven't even built mine yet. I usually like to run a bunch of things early. I just didn't do it this year. I had a lot of stuff going on, so I didn't quite get to it. I'm going to get it done today. But what are you looking at as far as captains go? Obviously, Mahomes is projected to be the highest owned captain. What are you thinking as maybe some differentiators captain wise?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't like I haven't really built a lot, but I've hand built a bunch of hand build. I haven't ran any sims or anything as much. I want to probably do that here in a second, but like for captain wise, you have the expensive ones up there as well, but you kind of got to decide what kind of path you want to go a little bit too. If you want to get off Barkley a little bit more in your build, you want to double RB like Pacheco, Hunt, get off Mahomes a little bit. You got a lot of passing options there, but like some cheaper guys that I really like at the captain spot are Godare, Dallas Goddard. Basically, I say Goddard, whatever. I like him. I think Pacheco's interesting. I know he hasn't been used, and I keep playing him. And if he gets a couple goal line touchdowns at his price tag of like super cheap, he would be interesting. If the game's spread out, you don't need a monster game. Obviously, if Barkley goes for 40 points, you're gonna need him in the captain spot. If Mahomes throws 4 TDs, Hurts runs 2 in, passes 2, you're gonna probably need one of those guys in the captain spot. But I like to get different with some of the cheaper options. I like Devontae Smith to hit a big play. He could go for a captain spot. Some guys with some upside, even the Hollywood Brown, chase a big game. So pick what path you want to go on, and then kind of base your lineups off that captain wise. And then, I mean, there's some cheap guys out there. Even Hopkins is super cheap. Like if he has that 10 catch game or something, but really like the big guys are going to be in the captain spot. But if you want to get different in your lineups, those are the guys you got to take a shot at. And then you can pick those pieces in your lineup, but then also leave salary. So don't just play, oh, I can play Pacheco captain, then I'm going to go Hurts, Mahomes, AJ Brown, and Worthy. Like, no, play like Dallas Goedert, Butker, throw a defense in there, leave a couple thousand, and then now you're real different. You know, you have a different build in there, and you've left out some stars. Yep. So I kind of like that approach a little bit. I'm a little worried about Barkley because I think Barkley, Chiefs stopped the run pretty decent, but I mean, he's obviously a very good player. But they also give up tight ends a lot, so I like Dallas Goedert a lot. And then, you know, are we going to see the playoff Kelsey today as well in the big game? You know, so double the tight ends I really like today. So that's just kind of what I'm leaning right now.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys go.
No, I think I hear you on a lot of that stuff. Go ahead, Brandon. What are your thoughts, captain wise? Are you gonna eat the chalk, or what are we doing to get different?
So going back to what I said, I think this is much more of a MME type of slate. Due to that, whenever I play MME for NFL and stuff, I usually either just play wide receivers in the captain, or fade ownership. Well, I can just very easily do both today with Barkley, Mahomes, and Hurts. You know, looking at carrying a bulk of the captain ownership. First and I did a video yesterday, kind of, you know, short for like half an hour or so, explaining just what I'm doing. And I haven't really changed anything from that. I'm absolutely fading all of the ownership up top in the captain, and I'm just using AJ Brown, Smith, and Goddard as my captains today. Yet again, I'm very Eagles heavy, and I only want to focus on wide receivers or tight ends in the captain position. That's the direction I've gone, and I'm sure I'll, you know, explain what else I'm able to do with my lineups because I'm doing that. But I'm just getting off the beaten path of ownership, like right off the bat on a slate like this. And especially after the week I've had, I'm honestly kind of just free rolling this and Daytona. So I figured I'd just be super aggressive and using the captains that are, you know, between Smith, Brown, and Goddard. Goddard might end up being the most popular of those guys, but none of them are really expected to pass like 6%, if not slightly higher. Whereas, you know, the big three, and with Worthy, like I'm automatically just getting different in that. And I'm playing a lot of the big tournaments today, so like the 20, and a lot of the huge MME tournaments. So that's why I'm being so aggressive on just using those three captains today. And I built my lines yesterday. I'm not changing anything. So any questions people have, I'm answering based on what I'm playing with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that I tend to agree with you, Brandon, and just that. Look, I'm going to be underweight Mahomes as a captain. I'm going to be underweight Barkley. I'm going to be underweight Worthy. I'm going to be probably with the field on Hurts because I think there's so many outs there. But I like the Devontae Smith idea as a differentiator. And just to sort of say what I like to do for the showdowns, what it worked out obviously great a couple weeks ago. I'm using, actually, you know what? I'm trying to use the average projections, averaging between SaberSim and Goldies. And then for ownership, I use Goldies. If Sheets posted his today, I would do a combination of the three, but Sheets is obviously out. So, you know, we'll see what happens. He's out somehow, though. I still see messages of him winning a tournament right now with me just behind him. So you never know with this guy. He's all over the place. But you know, hopefully I can at least fight with him for that golf tournament on FanDuel. Anyway, but I do like the Goddard idea that Rody mentioned as well. I like Devontae Smith. I do think Goddard is a way that you can get. Look, it makes a lot more things fit, and I think that he is like it is one thing the Eagles will give up a little bit. And they're gonna do everything they can to stop Barkley. Goddard seems like the natural way to go for me, more so even than AJ Brown. But I'm definitely gonna have some exposure to AJ Brown, and I think Devontae Smith probably ends up as my highest owned of the Eagles captains outside of maybe Hurts. And as far as the KC captains go, They're going to try to stop the Kelsey thing. I think Hollywood Brown is probably the one I'm the highest on versus the field, or I will be the highest on versus the field. And I'm just going to throw this out there. We're going to talk about the flex spot here, but look, this Gainwell thing, I'm telling you, this projection is just wrong. Like, he should never be projected at 2 fantasy points. I did up his projection manually. Oh, now for some reason it's not. I thought I just upped it. Okay, let me. Well, I will. Yeah, if I make him 5 in the flex, why is he not translating over to the captain? That's really weird. Let's make it 7.5. I think this Gainwell projection is ridiculous. I'm not saying you should play him as a captain necessarily. Actually, you know what? They've got him up. Oh no, this is with the captain stuff. But I do think that, like, I guess I'll just transition into what I like in the flex. But I really think that, like, there's upside for Gainwell, Justin Watson, Noah Gray. Those are guys I expect to have a pretty healthy amount of. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that the ownership isn't a little bit higher on Noah Gray. I'm surprised that I think Juju is the one that they'll go with. Yeah, he's got 18% ownership. But I think this Gainwell thing is just kind of weird to me. Like, I really think he should be projected higher. And if he's not, it's not going to be Barkley every single down. He does, get those third down breaks. I think he will play more of them than usual today because it's the Super Bowl. But they're not going to just completely change what they do. That's just not what happens. So why everybody's playing P. Ryan as a third string running back and no one wants to play Gainwell? I'm in on this Gainwell idea. You guys, I don't know if we've ever talked about a showdown slate where I haven't been like screaming Gainwell. Like, if the Eagles are ever on a showdown slate, I'm just always doing it. And I think there's plenty of upside. If you're playing third downs, especially like third and longs and whatever, you get that screen pass and you break one play, and all of a sudden Gainwell is like guaranteed almost to be in the optimal if something like that happens. And I do think that's really within the range of outcomes. Not to mention, this is still football. Guys get hurt. Guys get tweaked up for a minute. The guys have to go to concussion protocol. You never know if something like that happens to Barkley. Then all of a sudden you're like, I don't know. I just can't believe the Gainwell ownership and projection. So I'm bumping it up. Obviously, that's a big take of mine. Let's talk about the flex. What kind of ownership are you seeing, Brandon? And we'll get over to Rhodey afterwards. What are you looking at as some differentiators, as well as what do you think of the chalk?
So for me, this is actually probably the biggest stance that I'm decided to take on the slate. So actually, when we look at wide receivers for Kansas City, I'm with you that Brown is he is my highest wide receiver, but it's really difficult for me to really find differences between the lower receivers, Juju, Hopkins, Watson, and stuff. I think those guys are pretty much identical. I wanted 15% minimum of each of those guys, and I actually really like Watson today over P. Ryan. I think a 1v1 between those two, I would actually lean very heavy Watson, just because that leans to a different construction, and I think that their outcomes are actually pretty similar. But sorry, because I'm getting so different, I've actually decided to just have Mahomes be the one player that I'm actually fading on the entire game, because
Ooh.
I think I like Barkley. Obviously, I like the Philadelphia side. Obviously, I want Kelsey. I like Kareem. I like I'm playing literally everybody except Mahomes today.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Like that's my main take. And with the pass, or with the a receiver or tight end in the captain, I'm running 100% Hurts, because
Nice.
obviously, like, he's gonna need them to, or he, like, I expect Hurt, like, if the Eagles are actually performing and it's an Eagle captain, you're gonna need Hurts. So that's pretty much my main stance today. Is I'm not using Mahomes, and I'm using Hurts 100% in the flex. That's my main stances there.
Okay, that's interesting, because so are you talking about like a full fade on him?
Yeah, I have no Mahomes today.
Whoa, okay, this is a bold take here. I love this. Well, I don't even think you have to worry about anything else.
Yeah, no, like that, dude. But that's why I'm like, I'm happy with the lineups. Like, I have 50% Barkley. So if he works, if he doesn't work, whatever. I'm happy with my Kelsey where Worthy is. Like, I just think if the Kansas City cheap wide receivers are actually going to be involved, whether it's Juju, Noah Gray, Hopkins, which I think Hopkins gets used in this. Like, why would you have him on the team, save him the entire year, and like not use him in the Super Bowl? Like, that just seems like a waste of a trade. But if those guys actually do something, I'd much rather have the touchdown equity and you know, the PPR from the cheaper receivers than whatever Mahomes could give me at the end of the day. So that's my stance.
Yeah, I think look, it's bold, man. I love a bold take, and it's I'm just gonna double check if this updated. Why I've noticed this morning the projections keep updating quite a bit, so I'm kind of confused as to why, because we kind of know exactly what we should know. I think the only one that let me just see real quick. Yeah, I'm whatever. I'm doing the game whole thing. I love that. I love the bold take. I remember like when we were playing. It was at the Masters. I think Sheets built a. And I love these kind of ways of building on ways of trying to get different. He built, he cut out Scotty Scheffler. I think it was Rory and whoever number 3 was at the time. Was it Rahm at the time? It might have been. He just cut out he's like, okay, I'll just play all my lineups without these guys. And I think that taking that stance is interesting. I don't know if I have the stones to do that with a guy like Mahomes. I actually picture Mahomes being in almost all of my flexes as well as Hurts, and probably just fading them more as captains. That's the way I'm sort of approaching it. Rody, how do you think you're going to? I know you haven't got your builds done yet, but like, how do you think you're going to approach it as far as the Saquon, as far as I guess Saquon, Hurts, and Mahomes, and then what are some low owned stuff you like, or are you just taking a big stance and fading one of those guys? Because if you do any one of those 3, you can kind of, I mean, you don't really have to try to get different elsewhere. It's pretty good,
Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. Like, I like what Brandon had to say there with that. He's taking that path. And like I started off by that, like really locking in the top guys and then kind of seeing which guy you want to play. Cause both quarterbacks are expensive. And how do you want to do your build? Do you want to fade one and then play less of this one and play more of these guys, So I like that approach that he has. And that's kind of what you guys need to do is like, do you want to get different within your build, or do you want to get different with the players and taking big stands like that? That's really good in these one game slates, and I like the cheaper captain routes. I do like a lot of Mahomes receivers. They do spread the ball around. He'll throw to 9 guys today. There's all these weapons. And then Brandon mentioned Justin Watson could be there to catch a bomb. You got Juju Schuster still there. So you got all these different guys you can throw to. So basically hoping you get the touchdown out of one of those guys is kind of what you want. And maybe Mahomes doesn't get there. The game's spread out, and maybe the main guys for the Eagles are the ones we see in the end zone. The AJ Browns, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, the Barkleys, Hurts. They're a lot of the production of this offense. Yeah, Jawan Dotson might catch a catch. Yeah, Kel Quintera could get a catch. Those are guys, some off the wall guys if you want, but I like sticking to the AJ Browns, the Smiths, the Goddards, and then kind of just working those Chiefs guys in, even a little Pacheco, a little Hunt, a little Hopkins, Juju. I think Watson I took for the longest touchdown prop on DK. I threw him in. You get to pick 3 guys for that prop.
Well, that's cool.
I pick all these crappy guys because like Will Shipley almost won a ton of guys money last week. If he would have scored that touchdown on that big long run he had, he would have beat Barkley's long TD. So the longest touchdown one, they give away prop bets or bonus bets, I should say. But yeah, it's just fun to pick these guys and take stands on them. And I'm going to have up these guys in my lineup, so I'm going to take stands on them as well to get different, leave some salary, play the Hollywood Brown. And Hopkins at only 4,400 is a great price. I just actually put him in a lineup that I built. So I do like these cheap guys. And the Noah Gray, I didn't mention Noah Gray, double tight end with Kelsey, Noah Gray. I like that a lot too. Yeah, I'm not taking as big a stand as Brandon with no Mahomes, but
I will say, I mean, I faded Christian McCaffrey in Super Bowl last year. Like that's just how I approached these. So that's just how I go.
Yeah.
No, I like the bold takes in general. It's always hard for me to, but look, I mean, the narrative can change. It's not like let's say Mahomes has 14 fantasy points today. That's within the range of outcomes. Well, if that happens, Brandon's going to be probably printing some money because there is a lot of other scoring that's going to be done. I guess that we sort of have to touch on something that we didn't talk about. What about the kickers and defenses? Because I am very open to all 4 aspects. I think that I'm probably going to be a little bit ahead of the field, a little bit above the field. I think there's a perception out there, and because these teams go for it on 4th down a lot, they don't realize that, they also kick the most field goals, these teams. They will kick the field goals. Like
they're going to kick field goals for
they're
points.
Not going to kick field goals on 4th and 6 inches or whatever, but they'll kick field goals on 4th and 7.
4th and 7.
So, and you'll see plenty of situations like that come up. So I'm actually a little higher on the kickers and defenses. Where do you stand on that, Brandon? I know you're sort of now I almost don't even want to ask any questions because you already nailed it all. You got one huge take, which is a huge one. If you play no Mahomes, you're basically, you're in what, that's 90% of the lineups eliminated probably.
Well, I mean, and it's that, but it's also like I'm gonna assume that you're, and I'm more curious about like these types of builds, and this kind of why I didn't go there because you're stuck with using. I'm not saying Butker and the kickers and defenses aren't good plays, but then you're stuck, in the 4 and 3 and 5K range stuff. The fact that the Eagles are pretty much operating with 4 downs on every drive with the tush push. I think that personally keeps their offense alive a lot more than what the normal NFL offense is going to be. So I think that hurts the Chiefs' defenses. So if I'm looking at special teams and kickers, Chiefs are probably my least interested of the 4. But as you guys stated, I mean, both these teams are going to be kicking field goals. If you look at the props for both of the kickers, both kickers are expected to score, or at least their prop lines are like 7.5 kicking points, if not higher in some places. And so I think both kickers are probably live to score over 8 points in this game. And when we start looking at what's going on there, I would have lower ownership to the Chiefs defense just for those factors between those 4.
Yeah, the only argument I agree with that thinking. In general, the argument against it, and they're running the ball, so in general, the Chiefs defense wouldn't seem as appealing. If they're going to be forced to pass the ball, you can get Hurts to make some mistakes. And as my Rams pointed out a couple weeks ago, if they drop back to pass, you can get after Hurts really easily. I mean, the Rams had 8 sacks in that game. That just opens up. That's a lot of points, and that also opens up a lot of potential turnovers. So I could see it going that route. It really sort of depends on what kind of game flow you're betting on, in my opinion. And if they're down double digits and you're having Hurts drop back, you're gonna get some sacks, even with a great offensive line. He just holds the ball a long time, and he tries to make something happen, which is part of his gift. And also, it's a blessing and a curse. It's one of those things. So I expect myself to be slightly over on all 4 of those aspects, the kickers and the defenses today. I do prefer Butker over Elliott. I do prefer the Eagles defense slightly over Kansas City. That's pretty close, though, between those 2 for me. Rudy, where do you stand with those? Did I already go to you? Sorry about this.
Yeah, I've been an anti-kicker defense all year for Showdown. Yeah. So I don't think I can play many today. I do like it because it is so lower. It's much lower owned. And I think like if I was taking a big stance on like fading a guy big time and then being above on the defense and kickers would be the good idea to do, because then you're super low owned, you got unique lineups and everything, and then you're really hoping like a pick 6 or something, which has been happening in a lot of games. So so yeah, I would say I do like both defenses. They have been good both all year. It could be a type of field goal in defensive game. So I don't think we should be ruling it out. Everyone thinks it should be a high scoring, good offenses, but then they've really added a lot of defensive pieces for both teams in the offseason to make them better defensive teams. So, they're skill players on that side of the ball too. So they're trying to make a play all the time.
I will add that, naturally I'm working with more salary in the flex position than more of the expensive lineups. And so that's leading towards me prioritizing a lot more in the 5K and even like Kareem Hunt and stuff too. So, I mean, obviously my builds are going a different direction, but I really, really do like Butker today.
Yeah, I think Butker is the one of the 2 that I prefer. Not my favorite human being, but that's okay. We were looking past it for DFS. All right. I'm just taking a quick look at the recent things. It's actually interesting. It's not. He hasn't had like that monster kicking game in a little while, but I do think this is the kind of game where you could see it. He's had some good Super Bowls as well, so I'm in on the Butker. I have a few like just prop things that I wanted to throw out there. I was going through the Taylor Swift props with my girlfriend. It's pretty funny that they're on DraftKings. They've got all the Swift bets. I like the over of 6.5 shots of her during the game. I think that's the over under. It's sort of -120 either way. take the over on that one. I wanted to throw out a couple other ones. I really like the Noah Gray touchdown. I can't remember what the odds are, but they're really good. My friend says I'm in on a bet with him for Noah Gray for 2 touchdowns, but it's got astronomical odds, obviously, because that's kind of ridiculous. But
yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
He's like, you're in already with it. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm in. That's probably for like $20 or something. And I'll take a home run shot at that. The other ones were, let's see, the first touchdown scorer. I felt like all the odds were a little bit mixed up. So I actually really like both quarterbacks as the first touchdown scorer rushing. I think there's a really, really reasonable chance for that. Obviously, Philly Hurts makes more sense than Mahomes, but you got great odds with Mahomes. So those are some other ones I like. The other one was that whether Taylor Swift, what was the other one? Will she be shown during the halftime show? And there's great odds on this. I think she's like it was like plus 500 or something crazy. And I'm like, I think for sure she's getting shown during the halftime show. I'm counting on it because she's always the one dancing and screaming and all that stuff. And I'm guessing when Kendrick's up there, she's going to be shown. So I know.
What site is that on?
It was on DraftKings.
You're betting these on DraftKings.
Okay. I'm not able to bet it in California, but this is what I've got through friends or whatever.
Okay.
Which I probably shouldn't even say on air. Hopkins. This is interesting. Ryan Cade. I like that idea. Hopkins plus 3,000 for a first touchdown. That's interesting. Because Hopkins, that's what he is now. He's a possession-ish receiver. They've used a lot of guys, but you could see him get the goal line. I like that call a lot, Ryan. I think that Hopkins first touchdown.
Yeah, Ryan's my buddy too. So I'm in. He sends some good bets. So he's in a bet group of mine. So
yeah.
In our Discord too.
Anthony's asking where's Sheets. What does he like? Sheets is gone. He's on vacation. To say what does he like, I'll answer that question the same way that Sheets would answer it. I'm going to do what my projections.
Whatever the process is. Yeah.
The pretty standard answer from Sheets there.
That's funny.
No, there was another one about what Andy Reid mentioned Taylor in his post-game speech. And I don't know. The problem is they wrote post-game speech, but they didn't write post-game interview because what he did when they won it last year, he mentioned her in the post-game interview. That was plus 800. But post-game speech, I don't see him going in the huddle. Like certainly if they lose, he's not going to mention her in the post-game speech. But I thought those were kind of interesting odds. I know these are stupid, but look, they're still real bets. You know what I mean? My friends placed them. I've seen that. I got the receipts. So they exist. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it's interesting. Slick saying she might perform. That would be wild. There's another one with Will Travis. If the Chiefs, I guess it's Will Travis propose after the game, which obviously it would only happen if the Chiefs win. That was 12-1. I just thought it was fun because I was messing around with my girlfriend and her friend last night, and we were just talking about some of the prop bets that might at least keep them entertained. All right, what else do we have from this game? As I mentioned, I think the Eagles win a really close one, I think the Chiefs win a really close one, most likely. And I think if the Eagles win, the way to bet it is like bet them minus 8.5 or something like that. Like, I really think if they win, they're going to, the Chiefs haven't lost a 1-score game in like 5 years or something ridiculous like that. It's not really been 5, but they basically never lose in 1-score games, the Chiefs. So I'm in on the idea that one of those two range of outcomes more likely to me is the KC side of it. Brendan, did you have a take on the game? Did you mention? I can't remember if you said something.
No, I'm just following ownership. I really don't put much time or effort into trying to figure out what a game will be like game total. Like it's just going to happen, Yeah. That is probably the one thing in my process that I just don't even pay attention to. Like I really try not to have an opinion on that to sway me one way or the other. I just kind of build for slates.
Yeah. Gotcha. It makes sense. By the way, I'm kind of disappointed in my Lakers. I'm disappointed that Mark Williams isn't healthy. That trade got rescinded, and it's really, really disturbing. I thought the Lakers had it made in the shade here, and a little disappointed.
What happened?
They traded for Mark Williams, who's the big young center from Charlotte, who's been had an injury riddled first couple of years, but he's his talent wise is through the roof. He's got a longer reach than Wemby. He's going to be a monster of a player, but he's 23 years old. The Lakers traded for him. The Lakers traded a first rounder and their first rounder this year, connect and everything. And he failed the physical, so the trade got taken away.
Oh, really? That didn't happen. Wow, that was a big. They needed a big guy
last night. Yeah, they just took it away last night, which is also kind of a shitty thing for the Lakers because they now don't have a big man. But hey, we can't complain too much when somebody. I don't even understand why they did it, but we got this rep with Luka. I can't complain too much. I'm very happy to have Luka.
I'm
All
pissed,
right.
dude. It's like, why do I even like Dallas anymore? Like, I only liked the Mavericks because of Cuban and Luca. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is the point? At least I can buy tickets for like $20 now,
Yeah.
and they won't do anything for the next 15 years. But
It's brutal. And then Anthony Davis with a non-contact injury in the first game, and we're like, as Laker fans, are like, oh, I've seen that story before. You never know with him. I know he's had the last couple of years, he's been fairly healthy, but the guy missed he missed like half of his games for the previous 3 years. So
Yeah.
it's really risky.
He looked good last night, though.
He
I
was
mean,
dominating before that.
yeah, and they did get Max Christie, and he's been playing a lot. He's a Michigan State guy. I know about him.
I
He
like
dropped
Christie.
23 last night, so it's not like they just got Davis, but Davis is blocking shots, a beast. If that injury isn't too bad and he plays the year, they could have a little good run in Dallas for this year to finish the season.
They might if Davis can be healthy, but I do agree.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy.
But the problem is the point is no matter what they do this year, outside of maybe if they won a title, even that I don't think justifies it, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think it was a good trade either.
That. Luka's going to be one of the best 3 players in the NBA for the next 15 years or 10 years, however long he plays. And he doesn't. And by the way, he could do that out of shape or whatever. He still will be that. And he very likely will be number 1 for many of those years. He's going to be one of the best 15 players in the history of the game. You just don't trade those guys at 25, period. End of story. Also, what it meant to the fan base. I mean, I was looking like they lost, millions of Twitter followers that's up to now on because of that. The fans are out there protesting. They got the caskets out there for Luka. I mean, it's just so beyond crazy to me that you would do this, and especially you would do it only talking to one team. It's so weird. Like, I don't know. And I just feel like the Lakers got very fortunate, and I'm very happy about it. But I do feel for the Mavs people. All right. So anything else we want to add, guys, before we get out of here? I got to get my builds together, and then I'll post all my exposures and whatnot in the Discord and all that.
I do have one question for you guys specifically, since you're paying up for so many people. Like, what are you doing at the bottom of the salary? Like, are you going to P Ryan, or like, are you just on like Smith Schuster? Like, are you just taking whoever it's giving you at that point? Because that was the area that I kind of wanted to avoid, or like purposely like spread ownership out there, and not just land on people.
Yeah. I like so okay, let me just do this just so I get to have something on him. I don't know quite how I want to deal with this. Let's do one. You know what? I can do 0.5 because I have 500 lineups. So the ones for me that I'm going to be overweight are the Hopkins, Pacheco. Or this is not the very bottom, but these are the cheaper ones. Gainwell, those ones. Justin Watson, I'll be above on. Johnny Wilson, I'll probably be above on. Other than that, I'm probably just going to let it roll. I don't mind the idea of Calcaterra. I don't mind the idea of Dotson, but I'm probably not going to go out of my way to try to make it happen. Johnny Wilson, I can tell myself a story where, he's 700 feet tall. He's huge. If you need a Hail Mary play, if you need to play near the, let's say, you're near the goal line, but you're not quite close enough for the push, and you have to, you're fourth and goal from the 3 or something, but you're down by, 7 late or something. I could see him catching one. So that's sort of the way I looked at it. But I think Watson is the most logical of the cheap guys, of the super cheapos. And I think that this projection is just wrong on Gainwell. And if you think if you do agree that it's correct that two fantasy points or 1 fantasy point they've got him at, I think you should be playing Will Shipley then. So I will probably be overweight Gainwell, and I will get a little bit of Will Shipley. That's where I'm at right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I'm building with the cheaper captain, so I really haven't had to get down to that. I haven't built any with P. Ryan, Dotson, Watson. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a couple shots at Watson. I'll add a little bit of him in, maybe a little Dotson. He did get a touchdown, recently in one of the playoff games, the first one, I think. And then P. Ryan, I feel Pacheco is going to get more work again, and I feel like Hunt is the 2 guys. I know he's the 3rd down back, but I like those other guys a lot more. And then Gainwell, I've gotten a little bit of him. I haven't really put Schuster in the lineup, but Hopkins is cheap. I like Noah Gray. I like a 2,800. So I'm getting to that range a little bit more than I have been able to dip down. I will build some high dollar spend ones here soon, and then add a couple Watsons in a little bit, but not many of those probably.
Gotcha.
Makes some sense. Brody, what did you pick for the game? Eagles?
Pick for the game?
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say the Eagles because I think that's what I want to win, but then I'm like, man, like you said in the beginning, like You know, the Eagles feel like they could win, and then the coaching sucks for them, and they just play down, and then the Chiefs are going to win at the end, and they're going to win a three-peat, and I should just probably bet the Chiefs. But
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Eagles win the game.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm on the same page. Go Birds. It's weird because a couple years ago I was on the other side of this because I wanted to prove I was on the early camp of Mahomes is gonna contend with Brady as the greatest quarterback ever. He's gonna win all these. I really said it from literally from when he was drafted. I thought that highly of him. I thought the same thing about Lamar too. Thought those would be and I can't be wrong, I guess. But I really was like pulling for the Chiefs all over the place. Now I've sort of switched my turn. I'm like, okay, it's been enough of you guys. But realistically, I think they finally become the first team to three-peat, and that's what's gonna happen. I hope that I'm wrong though. I really do. And I'm really sad about my Rams. My Rams could have beaten this Eagles team. I can't complain though because that was the same day that I had the big win. But it really felt like the Rams were going to win that game to me. I really, even looking back at it, I thought, first and goal from the 10 or whatever with a minute left to go. Like it just looked like they were going to do it. And I really wish they were in this game. And I really wish Baltimore was in this game. So I'm just sort of disappointed that I don't have a more exciting feeling about the game. All right. Final thoughts, Rhodey, and then take us out of here.
You guys are ready for me to end it?
I think so. I don't have a whole lot more. It's it's a showdown.
You guys are good?
Hard to talk too much more.
Yeah, I'm good. All right. Yeah, good luck today, guys. It was a fun run. I mean, we had some big wins this year. Bobby with the millie for the season just recently. That was huge. Glad you guys are here, and this is the last show for football for the season. Then we'll be back at best ball and other stuff in the summer. So good luck today. Enjoy the game. And as always, let's